back and welcome back because today I'm going to give you guys my review for the fourth installment in one of the best action movie franchises of all time that I had the chance to go see just a couple of nights ago. John Wick, Chapter 4. Once again, starring Keanu Reeves with director Chad Stahelski returning as director with a big cast and another action-packed odyssey once again. And before I get started, let me know down below in the comment section, what's your opinion on John Wick Chapter 4? I'd love to know that down below in the comments. And with that said, let's get started. Set after the events of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, John Wick, with the price on his head continuing to increase, takes his fight and war against the high table as he goes out to find the most powerful players in the underworld all over the globe so that he can take the fight to the high table. I'm a big fan of the John Wick movies. I love each installment so far, from the first all the way to the third movie, and I have been excited for John Wick Chapter 4 for years. Keanu Reeves is a good actor, and he is one of the best action stars of all time with movies like The Matrix, Point Break, Speed, and now the four-movie John Wick series. And for a while, I was so excited to see the fourth installment because of Chad Stahelski returning once again as director, and just all of the cast members they've assembled for, like Donnie Yen, Laurence Fishburne, and everybody else here. Such a stacked cast, especially with Bill Skarsgård as the villain. And these movies have some of the best action sequences I have seen in modern day movies, where each movie they've managed to find a way to do something bigger, more bombastic, and it is awesome. And I had no doubt Chapter 4 was going to do some really exciting things with that. And I was really liking the trailers and the posters and the marketing for the movie that left me eagerly excited to see where the story of John Wick was going to go in Chapter 4. So now that I had the chance to go see John Wick Chapter 4, I absolutely loved John Wick Chapter 4. It has everything I love about the John Wick movies, takes it to a whole other level, and not only is it a fantastic John Wick movie, but it's one of the best action movies of all time. Keanu Reeves is fantastic as John Wick, and I would say this is his best performance yet as the character. Throughout the entire saga, he is just a really powerful killing machine, where he will do whatever it takes and can use any weapon and object to take down his enemies. And after the events of the third movie, he is angry, he is on revenge mode, and he will do whatever it takes to wipe out the high table and annihilate anybody that stands in his way. And he is on display with all of those traits I love about John Wick 4 in this movie. And not only because he's so good with the action side of things, but also because this is a movie that has a story and a lot of emotion to where it really ties things back together through all the things he's gone through in the series. It all comes to a head in Chapter 4, and it really shows Keanu Reeves is very good with the more quieter emotional moments as he tries to do whatever it takes to interact with those he needs to interact with and help his cause while also trying to stay alive in the process. And Chapter 4 has the best set of supporting characters for a John Wick movie, with characters like Kane, the Marquis de Gramont, Charon, Winston, Shimazu, Mr. Nobody. Everybody is so cool. They have a unique personality set, and they are so cool that everybody gets something to do. They all contribute to the story of John Wick and of Chapter 4 as a whole, and they really help push the story forward and leave off these characters with these interactions where you can buy into the fact that they have a history. These characters have interacted with each other beforehand, if that was the case, and they have a lot of really epic moments, whether it's an action sequence, the smaller scenes, and everybody has a role to play, which is very cool here. And my favorite new character in this movie is Donnie Yen's Kane. He is epic. He is awesome. He is so cool with the action. Once again, Donnie Yen's playing a really awesome, skilled, blind character like he did with Chirrut in Rogue One. And he is epic here. And Mr. Nobody, another standout character with him and his dog and what they do here. They are just, once again, the best characters I've seen in the movie alongside John Wick himself. And the whole crew is very good in this movie. The John Wick movies have a really impressive track record with amazing action sequences, and Chapter 4 takes it to a whole other level. I was on the edge of my seat throughout, wondering how was the entire crew able to film this action sequence in the way that they filmed it. There is one where the camera is up in the air and you're just watching John Wick maul a bunch of guys down. And how that was pulled off in one take, I was blown away. I was just in awe of what I was seeing here. Once again, there's a variety of different action sequences, gunfights, knife fights, sword fights, hand-to-hand combat, whether it's in an apartment building, on the road with cars coming in, or whether it's on a staircase, stairwell, or a nightclub. This movie has everything you'd want for action sequences in John Wick. And once again, it is some of the best action sequences I have ever seen. It can be 30 minutes of pure action, and the movie always finds a way to make it engaging, exciting, kinetic, full of energy, to where I was in awe and was riveted by the entire runtime with the action sequences that were on display here. And what Chad Stahelski and the crew were able to pull off here, it's incredible. I was absolutely amazed by how good the action is in this movie. I've always loved action John Wick movies from the beginning to the second movie and the third movie, but Chapter 4 raised the bar so high that I am just amazed the movie exists in the way that it does. They did a really impeccable job of directing and making these action sequences, from the choreography to the way that it is filmed, that I give them tremendous respect for how they're able to pull this off, because it is spectacular. Chapter 4 also has the best cinematography out of every John Wick movie. It is colorful, especially when we are in places like Osaka, Japan, with the overemphasis on red and even blue at points. And we go to the nightclubs later on, it's blue. Locations can be full of green. And this movie is just, it's really colorful throughout. It is a very gorgeous looking movie, and the colors stand out, they pop, they're on display, and they fit the mood and the aesthetic for these locations and give every location that John Wick and the characters go to a distinct personality to make it feel like you can feel like John Wick is really going all over the world, because they don't look like the exact same location. And I really appreciate that, because it's well shot. There's some beautiful cinematography work here with all the locations they visit to in the movie. And how it's pulled off, it's beautifully shot, it's well colorized, and so as having a distinct flavor and personality to all these areas that we go to throughout the movie. And it just makes for a very beautiful looking action movie. Over the last couple of months, we've seen movies with long runtimes of 3 hours, 2.5 hours, or even beyond 3 hours, with movies like The Batman, Babylon, Avatar: The Way of Water, and now we have a movie like John Wick Chapter 4, and I am happy to report this is a very well-paced movie. There's no scenes in this movie where I thought things are slowing down, I'm just losing interest in what's happening. I was on the edge of my seat from beginning to end. A lot of these characters and locations that John Wick and the characters go to in the story absolutely is necessary for the story to play out in the way that it does. It's exciting, whether it's just characters interacting with one another, or plot twists are taking place, or if it's just action happening for a long period of time. I was never bored. It is a very well-paced movie, and I love a good, nearly 3-hour paced movie, and this one is no exception. It is a lot longer than the other 3 John Wick movies, but I'd say because of how big the story of this movie is, with how massive the scale, the scope, and just to all the places John Wick goes to over the course of this movie, it absolutely warrants the runtime that it has, and it is well-paced. It deserves that runtime, because not only is this a well-paced movie, but it's the biggest John Wick movie in every sense of the word. This movie also has the best story to come out of the John Wick movies since the original, where the bounty on his head is growing every time because he is still alive. John Wick encountering all these different characters, from friends to foes to new allies and new enemies, and whatever he does to stay alive and make sure that he wages his war against the High Table. It is a very compelling story where, yes, it is a lot of action that is glorious to watch, but all of it is in service of the story about John Wick, waging war against the high table. And it's the biggest story yet out of all 4 movies, where he goes to all these places and globetrots all over the world. And it has a really epic feel to it that it feels like it's an odyssey, that it's another really worthy chapter to the John Wick series that feels like this is the logical next step for the character of John Wick and the story to go into next, and how it plays out from how it starts, where right off the bat, we're back into the swing of things. We knew exactly what's at stake here and what needs to be accomplished, all the way to where it ends on a really satisfying note, where it really ends this movie on a high note. I absolutely love the story of John Wick Chapter 4. And as simple as the first movie story is, which is still very good, Chapter 4 has by far the best story out of every John Wick movie to date. The John Wick movies have this overarching story feel where everything that's happened in Chapter 4 was something that was responsible from the last 3 movies, and it gives this movie a sense of an overall story, connectivity, and I really appreciate that a lot. It makes us feel like, once again, it's an action epic odyssey with John Wick. And there's an emotional core on display where, yes, John Wick is mauling his way through all of these assassins who are out to get him, but it's also a story about John Wick trying to find peace and solace, where he wants to rest after being an assassin for so many years, doing all of these things, only to retire, but then come out of retirement because of Chapter 1. Chapter 4 is finally about him trying to get the peace he's always wanted, where if he has to take down everybody that comes his way and maul anybody down, especially the high table in particular, he will do whatever it takes to achieve that. And he just wants to be at peace with himself and to leave this behind. And there's that emotional core here that's compelling. It stands out, and it really leaves me with scenes that really feel emotional, that felt earned for the story at hand. This climax is the best climax out of all 4 movies. It's the highest the stakes have ever been, where Bill Skarsgård plays by far my favorite antagonist in the series, with the Marquis de Gramont, who's arrogant, cocky, intimidating in the intellectual way, and so is what he does to stop John Wick. And even though John Wick is a character that is a lot more stronger than him, Bill Skarsgård's Marquis de Gramont character is somebody that will do whatever it takes with the decisions and the power that he has to make sure that he succeeds. And the third act just gets crazier and crazier and crazier, where character alliances form and assassins come out of the blue to finally get the bounty on John Wick and get the drop on him. And we see him go to all these different locations, and it is exciting, it's memorable, it's unique, it is full of intense situations for John Wick. And yes, he survives all these different things that we see throughout the course of the movies, especially in Chapter 1. But in Chapter 4, once again, you don't bet against John Wick. And the third act here is excellent. It is phenomenal. It's one of the best action movie climaxes I've ever seen in my life. For a lot of movies I've seen in the action genre, the third act here is up there with like Die Hard, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Mission Impossible Fallout. It is just incredible how this third act plays out. From the moment the third act begins and the stakes are the highest they've ever been, all the way to when the credits roll, I was riveted. There's even a callback to another classic action movie in the back half of the third act that they made. I got goosebumps for. I'm not going to say what it is, but you should know it when you see it. And with how the movie ends, I was very satisfied with it. The third act of Chapter 4 ends the movie on a really high note that I am genuinely amazed that the crew was able to accomplish it to this degree because of how well crafted it is. In conclusion, John Wick Chapter 4 is a riveting and an excellent 4th installment in the John Wick series that continues the saga in a marvelous fashion, with Keanu Reeves' best performance as John Wick, and marvelously directed by Chad Stahelski himself, with some of the greatest action sequences both in the John Wick movies and for action movies of all time. It's beautifully shot, has an incredible story about John Wick trying to find peace as he goes to war against the High Table, and it ends the entire movie on a really high note that this will rank among some of the greatest action movies, not only of the past couple of decades, but of all time. So in the end, I'm going to give John Wick Chapter 4 an A+. I genuinely am not sure what they're going to do next. This is like the Mission Impossible Fallout, where they peaked so much in this movie where I don't know how are they going to follow up with action movies in general here. It is incredible how these movies have played out and how Chapter 4 is executed and presented. So if you are somebody that loves the John Wick movies, just like me, you gotta go see John Wick Chapter 4. Just like how I felt, it's fantastic, and I have no doubt that if you're someone that loves these movies, you're going to really like it too. And I hope you guys will go check it out in theaters, because so far, it's my favorite movie that I've seen so far this year, and we're only in March of the year. So this set a really high bar for movies this year, because John Wick Chapter 4 has managed to be my favorite movie of 2023 so far. So yeah, that's my review for John Wick Chapter 4. What are your thoughts on the movie? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Stay tuned for some upcoming videos I have planned. I'm going to have a review for The Last of Us Season 1 at some point, and later this week will be Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which I'm really looking forward to seeing later this week. So stay tuned for all that fun stuff coming your way very soon. And don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below, so please go down while you're at it. And thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button. And stay tuned for more.